You ever get that feeling maybe lately like the world's standing on uh, slightly shaky ground?
Oh, definitely. It's a sentiment you hear more and more, I think, especially for, well, people who've seen a bit more time pass.
Yeah. And the material we're looking at today, it really dives into that feeling, doesn't it? It outlines some pretty significant potential disruptions.
It does. We're talking large scale stuff,
Right.
natural disasters, hurricanes, tornadoes, floods, sure, but also things like biological attacks or even an EMP or a CME, a solar event.
And not just acts of nature, right? The sources mentioned deliberate infrastructure attacks, too. Could be foreign actors, could be domestic.
Exactly. And the common thread, the thing that links all these potential scenarios together.
It's the loss of essentials.
Right. The breakdown of services we totally rely on. Transportation just stops. Water, food access becomes difficult. Communications, gone. No electricity, no natural gas.
It's quite a stark picture. Makes you stop and think, okay, right here, my street, my neighbors.
Yeah.
How would we actually cope if all that just switched off?
And that's the central question the sources push us towards.
Yeah.
Which leads into this concept they introduce called NICS.
NICS. Okay, what's that stand for?
Neighborhood Information Exchange in Emergencies. The core idea is getting prepared, but specifically at that very local neighborhood level, before a crisis.
Before, yeah, that seems critical. It's about setting up those communication lines, those connections, figuring out how you'll talk when the usual ways, phones, internet are down.
Precisely. So you're not just isolated if, the worst happens. The source suggests some initial steps, things people can do now.
Like what? What are the practical takeaways there?
Well, some are pretty straightforward. Keep your car's gas tank at least half full. Seems simple, but it gives you options, even just for local movement, helping out.
Right. Basic mobility. Makes sense.
Stocking some shelf-stable food, obviously. Things that last without power. But maybe the most important one they stress.
Let me guess. Neighbors.
You got it. Actually get to know your two closest neighbors, just opening that door, starting that relationship.
Yeah, those immediate connections could literally be lifelines. The source also mentions thinking about backup spots within the neighborhood, like if you had to leave your house but stay local.
It does. Potential relocation or meeting points. It's a heavier thought, but part of that what-if planning.
So the call to action is pretty clear.
Mm-hmm.
Find out if there's a NICSI group near you already, or, take the lead and start one.
That's the essence of it. Resilience starts right there on your block. But okay, so NICS handles the immediate neighborhood. What if you need information from further out or need to coordinate more widely?
Good question. Where does the source go from there?
It introduces another layer, something called LCARE.
LCARE.
Yeah, LCARE. It stands for Lafayette Community Area Repeater Environment. This operates more at the parish level, so a wider area.
Okay, so how does that connect with NICSI?
Well, the idea is that different NICSI groups or even individuals could potentially use the LCARE system to share information beyond just their street. It acts as a sort of backup communication network for the whole parish.
Gotcha. So neighborhood level with NICS, then parish level with LCARE for broader reach. Makes sense. And how do these systems actually work? What technology are they suggesting?
The source points specifically to GMRS.
GMRS. Okay, spell that out.
General Mobile Radio Service. GMRS.
And why GMRS? What's the advantage mentioned?
Compared to something like ham radio, the source presents GMRS as, well, generally cheaper and maybe simpler to get into.
Simpler how? Like less technical know-how needed?
Potentially, yeah. Now, it still requires an FCC license, that's important to note, but the overall barrier to entry, the cost and complexity, is suggested to be lower than getting a ham license and equipment.
So for a neighborhood group setting up a NICSI, or a parish organizing something like LCARE, GMRS might be a more practical, maybe more accessible radio option for communication.
So that seems to be the angle presented. It could bridge that gap, allowing local talk within the NICSI, but also reaching out further via the LCARE repeaters when needed, especially when phones and internet are dead.
It really does hammer home that point, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Preparedness isn't just about you and your own supplies. It's about community connection, communication links.
Absolutely. Which kind of brings us full circle back to the listener.
Right. So thinking about all this NICSI, LCARE, the potential of GMRS, the real question for you is, have you seriously considered how your own neighborhood would communicate if the normal ways just stopped?
And maybe more pointedly, what's one thing, just one small step you could actually do this week to move towards being better prepared, inspired by these ideas? What will that first step be?